Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. Welcome to the Artcast.
Welcome to you, Missy.
How are you?
Good.
You got it? You remember how we do this?
No.
I know. Sometimes you forget.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. I don't know.
You know, they say that when they put you on statins for your cholesterol that you start to get forgetful.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God, like we need that.
I know,
top of
right?
everything else.
I know, on top of our grandma brains.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we talked about that the last episode. I'm like,
yes, we did.
It's in full force.
It is for sure.
Grandma force.
That's right.
Yeah, grandma brain. How was 4th of July?
Our neighborhood is like a war zone.
I know.
I have to drug the dog.
I am excited because Jackson's home for the weekend.
Yay.
He did get approval from the powers that be, so we'll have everybody over on the 3rd and have a little Marry Me chicken, which is my new favorite recipe.
Marry Me chicken?
It's so good. Yeah,
is it?
It is really good. I'll make it for you guys sometime.
Okay.
It should be a crazy weekend.
Yep, as usual. And
Otherwise,
downtown Coeur d'Alene is nuts.
And the traffic is crazy already. So, welcome to Coeur d'Alene.
That's right.
Summer people. We love you.
Yep.
Just stop driving. Walk more.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
I know, because I got to get places.
Right.
Oh my God. I was in Safeway buying whatever. I had to get food for something to eat, I think. And I'm walking to the car and I hear this huge bang. And I'm like, somebody got in an accident. Sure enough, get in the car, and of course the road I'm right on Government Way, you know, the bigger Safeway, and I turn and I was like, it's right in the intersection.
Oh no.
And this guy, I don't even know, somebody had to be going so fast because the whole right side passenger of this one car was just smashed. And if somebody was in the passenger side, their legs are hurt.
Yeah.
Big time. I was just like, oh my God, it's so bad. So let me just say, everybody just be careful.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Calm down.
Calm down. You'll get there. Leave plenty of time because there are more people in town. And that is my PSA for today.
Good job.
Thank you. And you, how are you?
Good. Well, my son Connor has moved off to Colorado.
My home state.
Yep.
Yeah,
he's
good for
going
him.
down there to be a woodworker.
I love it.
But you know, Connor, he was a base jumper. He's the reason that I have all this great gray hair.
Yep. Crazy.
So we were at the Iron Horse recently, and we met this man, J.D. Walker.
Yes.
Who was one of the pioneers of base jumping.
I know.
So I can now blame J.D. for my gray hair.
It's his fault.
Yep. My son Connor never got a number because he didn't care about the number. But apparently, when you become a base jumper and you do all 4, which JD is going to go through all of that with us.
He's going to explain it all. Right.
You get a number. So JD's number is 37, and he wrote a book called Base 37 about his experiences as a base jumper. So welcome.
Welcome, ladies. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to know
what is a base jumper? I'm not even sure I know what that means.
Well, base is an acronym. B is for building. A is for an antenna, like a TV tower or a radio antenna. So A. S is span, like a bridge, or in my case, I jumped out of the dome of a domed stadium. That's a span.
Okay.
And E is for earth, a cliff.
Okay.
So you make a jump from each of those to get a base number. And the rules on the jump are pretty specific. You must have a packed parachute on your back. You can't use any aids to get off the edge. You have to, like in a cliff especially, you can't build a structure to get out to the edge. And so all that was decided in the early days. It came about because there were guys in 1979 figured out, are you guys familiar with Yosemite National Park?
Yes.
And El Capitan?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There were guys figured out, hey, this is high enough, we could jump off this and get away with it. So they did it, and the Southern California crowd heard about it, including a very well-known cinematographer, freefall cinematographer named Carl Banish. So Carl says, I want to go film this, and more than just take pictures. He wants to document it from several angles. So he put a big trip together. They filmed it, put it into one of his little short films. And I just happened to be at the drop zone where I was learning to jump in 1980. It was in January of 1980. And he shows up and puts a bed sheet on the wall and projects this 16 millimeter movie. And it's mostly skydives, but towards the end it was two guys jumping El Cap, and he structured it in a way where you saw it from all the angles and a little bit of slow motion. And man, just sucked me in. Oh my God, I gotta do this.
Wow.
And along with a bunch of other people, you'll read in the book Mark Tharp, who's a dear friend of mine. He was there that night and he saw it. Well, him and a couple of his buddies went to El Cap and jumped it at night. Subsequently got arrested.
Oops.
Yeah, oopie. But that's how base started. They were sitting around. There's the two first guys are Phil Smith is base 1, and Phil Mayfield is base 2, and we call them Smitty and Mayfield. They and Carl Banish, the cinematographer, and Carl's wife, they were in Texas, and they had done 3 of these objects, and they went out and jumped a bridge. It was the last one. And they go, okay, we're skydiving, but we're not really skydiving in the traditional sense. We're making parachute jumps off of fixed objects.
Right.
So they brainstormed. I heard there was a couple of beers involved.
Oh, of course. Maybe a little tequila.
Dinner, yeah, possibly some tequila. I wasn't there. But they came up with this acronym. Thus, BASE was born. So on, I think it's July 9th, Phil Smith was base 1, based on being the first guy to do all 4. And Phil Mayfield was base 2. Jean Banish, Carl's wife, she's base 3.
Wow.
And then Carl is base 4. And the last object they all did together was a building, a 1,000-foot Texas Commerce Tower in Houston. So Smitty and Mayfield did a 2-man wearing cameras facing each other, and Smitty was in front, so he's the first person to jump.
Right.
Mayfield's right behind him, and then Gene jumped, and then Carl jumped. And later on, I was the first to find and jump the first walls in the Grand Canyon complex.
Ew.
All my friends would ask my friend, who was right behind me on the first one, why don't you just shove him out of the way? You could have been the first. But Phil Mayfield, base number 2, is night base number 1, having done all 4 objects at night.
Oh.
So that started a phase, and soon everybody in Southern California was going to jump El Capitan. I lived in Chandler, Arizona at the time. My wife and I were, just married, had a baby girl on the way. So, I had to kind of tone down what I was doing a little bit. I wasn't doing anything but skydiving at that time. And when I saw that film, that was just, holy, I got to do that. So, thus, here I sit 46 years later.
Wow. Wow. And thank God you are here.
By the grace of God, I am here.
I heard it was one of the most dangerous sports out there.
Yeah.
It was at the time because guys were just making parachute jumps off of fixed objects with skydiving gear. And then I try to explain in the book the difference between a skydive and a fixed object jump, a building, let's say a building. In a skydive, you have all this airspeed. When you're falling through the sky, it's 120 miles an hour. There's nothing around you other than the other jumpers. You do whatever you're going to do in free fall. You do your maneuvers, and you turn around and you fly away from each other. We call it tracking. So you have distance between each other when you open parachutes.
Right.
And modern square parachutes, when they open, a massive amount of air hits this 250 square foot piece of fabric. All that air has to go somewhere. So what it ends up is going out the rear of the canopy, and it drives the parachute forward at a high rate of speed. And if somebody's right there, you're going to run right over them.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So when they started jumping off of buildings and cliffs and the parachute opened backwards, the early guys, we lost a lot of guys hitting the object they jumped off of.
Right.
So that became kind of the quest. I learned a parachute rig right away. And that became one of the early quests was, how do we stop the parachute first from turning around, which seemed to be a random thing, but more importantly, how can we stop it from surging forward? I did a lot of the early research in that. I used to film. Carl taught me. I had an 8mm film that my father-in-law had left behind. He passed away, but I had a slow motion function. I could jump out of balloons, which is essentially a fixed object jump.
Like hot air balloon?
Yeah, hot air balloon.
Okay.
I would have the pilot point the camera straight down so we could actually see what the parachute was doing when it opened.
Oh, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that taught me a lot. And then I was able to go home and let's lower this, let's move that, let's do that.
Right.
And then we filmed it, and that became a lot of the basis for trying to solve that problem.
Right.
But in those days, there was no social media. There's no Facebook, there's no pagers, there's no cell phones, there's no way to disseminate information other than word of mouth or literally letters. Or if you were rich, you had a fax machine, in those, which not everybody did in those days.
Nope.
And I sure did, and that's for sure.
Yeah.
So everything was word of mouth, and unfortunately, for several years, we lost guys to hitting things. That was mostly it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We lost an occasional guy from parachute didn't work, and it became obvious to anybody who wanted to keep doing more than just, a lot of guys just did the 4 objects and said, okay, that's it, I'm done, going back to skydiving.
Right.
So most of those early guys only have 4 jumps. The few of us that had a loose screw or two, went,
like, let's try this.
Yeah, let's try this.
Yeah.
And so I took that up as kind of a passion, and my wife put up with it, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Most women would have changed the locks. I'd come home and all my stuff's melted in a burn pile in the driveway.
Yeah, right.
So my wife put up with that. I came from a construction family. My dad built custom homes. And so I'm the 4th of 6 boys, so we all grew up in the trades. So at the time I'm 18 years old, I could do anything. Concrete, I could frame a house, I could roof it. I knew how to do stucco, everything. So that came in handy in the later years when the economy stank and you needed to find work. You could go build a patio or a room addition or something. But I wanted out of that, and I knew I could break into stunt jumping and be a guy doing, like the James Bond movies always had parachute scenes in them. And they were hokey as crap.
Right.
Yeah, you can see the guy's obviously got a rig under his coat. It's just, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I set on a mission to build the ultimate hidden parachute suit. I built something you could not tell I was...
You were
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It had no buckles or hardware on it. Everything was sewn. It was just a single parachute. All of us Walker boys have great big booties. We have a big sway back, right? Big dip in your back, and then this big old, bun sticking out.
So hide it in the
there's
back.
Exactly. I had an old suit that had pleats down the back, and I pulled all the stitches out, figured out a way to turn that into the back of the container and hide this thing. But
wow,
I'm jumping way ahead in the book. All that's covered in the book.
Right. Yeah.
Just wanted to get into base
But I
jumping.
do have a question about, you're right, there was no social media back there, no cell phones.
Yep.
How did people know to get their number after they did all 4 of the jumps?
Yeah.
How did they get their number?
They literally had to call Carl.
So Carl was the keeper of
Carl
numbers.
was the keeper of the knowledge.
Oh, okay.
And he was the best dissemination for that. And he actually started publishing a little paper, 6, 8 page, 10 page little thing. Who did what? Here's what's new. The early guys became subscribers to that. Carl was the glue that kept the whole little idea together, because otherwise, like you said, how do you find these things out? And there's an event back east every year that they still do. It's the 3rd Saturday of every month. The second highest bridge in North America is in West Virginia. It's called Bridge Day, and it's in Fayetteville, which is all the way in the far western end of but it's over it's a mile-long bridge over a 875-foot high river. The river's not that high, but the bridge is.
Right, yeah. Sure.
Wow, that river. No.
Yeah.
What have you been smoking? But anyway, that one day a year, they'd shut the bridge down, and it was a huge event economically for the area. That'd be a place you could go, and obviously you'd get there a day early, and we'd jump Saturday, and I obviously have a massive huge happy hour afterwards, and that's where we'd trade ideas, and we wrote physical letters to each other, and it would take 5, 6, 7 days to get there.
Right.
One of the first things we figured out in the fixed object jumps was the pilot chutes, which is the little parachute the guy pulls out and he lets it go and it pulls the main out. On a fixed object jump, you don't have any airspeed when you first start. It's got to be built up as you fall.
Yeah.
So the little pilot chutes would do scary things like sit on your back and just wander around looking for air, and meantime your brain's going,
I'm falling. Yeah.
Come on. So
this is my nightmare right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So we started figuring out we needed bigger pilot chutes, so I started building bigger pilot chutes, and I did stuff like that. The bridle, that's the connecting tether between the pilot chute and the main parachute, needed to be longer so that thing could get a little airspeed and have more snatch force to it. So just little ideas like that.
Right.
So my question is it illegal to jump off buildings?
It depends on the owner of the building.
Okay.
It's all permission based.
All right.
Yeah.
I do know that there is a bridge in southern Idaho that you are legally allowed to base jump off.
To base jump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Perrine Bridge. And it's funny, Allie, I didn't even know this for years. I think it was in the mid-90s, 94, 95. I could be wrong. But there were guys jumping this bridge, and the sheriff would chase him down sometimes if he was available. If not, but somebody went to the city council, and I don't know who did it, but somebody went to the town council, city council, and said, hey, you guys have an ideal platform here to let us do this, and you should let people do this because they're going to do it anyway. But wouldn't it be better if it was under ideal conditions and charge them a permit or a fee or whatever?
Yeah,
right.
They went one step better. Somebody did an economic impact study for them and said,
Smart.
guys are going to fly in there.
Yep.
They're going to rent a car. They're going to stay in the hotels. They're going to eat at all the restaurants. They're going to drink at all the bars. They're going to buy trinkets. They thought, why don't we just open this thing up full time, and we'll have one rule. If we have to rescue you, you got to pay for it. Perfect logic, right?
Yep. Smart.
That's essentially how I understand it came down. And I did not know this for years. And by the mid-90s, I had a terrible accident in 1993. We'll get to that. So I kind of really toned down what I was doing. I just didn't know about the bridge, or I would have went to it.
What makes a school great? It's not the building, it's not the schedule, it's not even the curriculum. It's the people and how they treat one another. That's why conversations matter. Every day, podcasts bring people together through stories, ideas, and shared experiences. In many ways, that's the same work the Ovation Company does in schools. Since 2006, the Ovation Company has worked side by side with educators across North America, helping schools create positive climate and culture where kindness, empathy, and respect aren't just words, they're lived experiences. Through assemblies, workshops, staff development, keynotes, and student leadership programs, the Ovation Company is in schools every day, helping students and educators build stronger connections and healthier communities. Because a healthy environment is a productive environment. The Ovation Company, standing up for what is right and good. Visit ovationcompany.com for more information.
Need shirts, hats, signs, or stickers?
If you can dream it, Pyramid Printing can print it.
For over 25 years, Pyramid Printing has been a Coeur d'Alene favorite for screen printing, embroidery, banners, and more.
Big job, small job, no problem. Just give Eric a call and let the local pros take it from there.
Email info@pyramidprintingcda.com or call 208-664-0254 or visit pyramidprintingcda.com.
Pyramid Printing, printing made easy and done right.
I want to ask before I forget, because my mind is
Grandma brain.
Grandma brain. How many numbers are recorded right now? Do you know?
I believe it's pushing 3,000.
Wow.
I know, and this is a year and a half, 2 years ago. It was in the high 2,800s. So it's pushing 3,000.
And is Carl still?
No,
he's not around.
Carl was world renowned for his photography, and in 1984 there was a hugely popular TV show called Guinness Book of World Records.
Yep, I remember it.
Carl was this very smart man, great at marketing. he reached out to, I think he knew the producer, and he said, hey, let's do an episode on the world's highest base jump. So they knew of a cliff in Norway that the distance between the exit and the landing area was higher than El Cap by like 1,000 feet. It was in Norway, and it's called the Trollveggen, the troll wall. So they set up this big thing, and I remember that, and this is in the book. I wanted to go. Carl told a couple of us, we all wanted to go, and he goes, you can go, but it's not my trip. You can go as friends, but you got to pay for everything. And of course, and I said, hey, Shelly, babe, I got a chance to go jump the troll wall. She's like, over my dead body.
Right.
So if it doesn't kill you, I will when you get home.
That's right.
So,
it's choices.
Yeah. And they did the production. They were finished with it. And they were going to sleep in the day they were supposed to go home. And Carl had seen a place that he thought was jumpable when they were hiking around before the jump. And he talked the two guides they had into taking him up to that site. And he jumped off the wall. And I did the forensic examination on the parachute after the fact. I determined he hit the wall. And we found out later, because the two guides that took him, at the time, they denied that they saw what happened. These guys knew they'd get dragged into an investigation, so they're like, we didn't see anything. And 30 years later, when they did a documentary and they reached out to these two guys, they could then talk about it. Yeah, we did. We filmed it. We saw exactly what happened. He had a 180. His parachute opened backwards. We call it a 180. And he hit the wall violently. The parachute stayed open, but it hit the wall. It kind of deflate, fall a little ways, inflate, hit the wall again. Carl had hit a protrusion in the rock. They surmised he had a torn aorta in his heart, and his chest was was collapsed. So it was a terrible event, and it was so.
And wasn't his wife at the base waiting?
She wasn't.
For him?
She didn't see it.
She didn't see it.
She didn't see it. Yeah, she didn't know about it. She found out, later that what had happened, and it was all over the news in Norway. And one of the Norwegian guys knew of some climber friends of mine in Southern California. They called him and he called me, and that's how we found out about it. So it was an unnecessary accident in the fact that Carl had a new parachute. It was a great big monster, what's now used for tandem jumping, where they take you for a ride. It's big enough for two people. And Carl had broken his ankle really badly earlier in his life, and had he landed a hang glider on a barbed wire fence. And it snagged his boot. So the boot stayed there. He kept going, slams into the ground, and he tore his larynx on the barbed wire fence. He never got his ankle repaired, and he was an early Christian Scientist. He didn't believe in doctors, and that was God's will, and so he was a slow mover. And I did not know that until right at the end of his life. Now here I am, a 19, 20-year-old kid. Come on, Carl, let's go. And he's 40, and he's carrying a ton of weight on his back, and his ankles, literally his leg is offset. It was terrible.
Oh my gosh. Shoot. Wow.
But his parachute, he ordered this brand new parachute. He'd only jumped it a couple times, and it never got modified with the things we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yes.
A deeper brake setting, moving steering lines around, doing things that we knew would prevent that surge. It would severely lessen it, give you a chance to turn the parachute.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. That was a terrible day.
It was a terrible day.
It's I get choked up talking about it.
Yeah.
I ended up doing my thing with the parachute, and I called her up and said, Jeannie, the evidence to me suggests he hit the wall. At least if he didn't once, multiple times.
Right. Well, in the book, you had a really harrowing day, and that was when you had your really bad accident, and you called that chapter in the book is Mother's Day.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that? Because
if I don't start crying.
Well, it's okay if you cry.
No, I won't. I'm totally comfortable with any of that. I really, it is what it is. I spent 10 years in the construction business, played in bands at night. I always took a lot of pride. I had a little girl that was just the love of my life, who's now 46 and she lives here, has given me 2 grandkids. But she was just my world, right? So I just always wanted to do better. I worked with guys that were 55 and 60, and they couldn't stand up and their hands are wrecked. They didn't have the kind of lifestyle and the life that I thought my family deserved better, my wife especially. So I always had a second job. I wanted to be a stuntman. I wanted to get into Hollywood. But I get a real job finally in 1989, in the summer of 89. I get a job at this big paper company in Orange County, California. And we were living in Chandler, Arizona at the time. I went over to Southern California, I interviewed for the job. And it's funny, the guy that I spoke to on the phone several times with was the training manager and hiring manager for this company's LA division. Well, I get there, And, we're broke. I got a truck, and I got my bag, and I got, enough gas money to get home. And, thank God my dad lived in Pasadena, which wasn't far from downtown L.A. So I go to this interview. I get there a day early. I spend the night with my dad, and he's overjoyed I'm there. And I go to this interview, and this guy sits down, he looks at me, and he's, how old are you again? I said, I'm 28. And he goes, how did you get here? You invited me here. And I started getting a knot in my stomach. And he goes, you don't stand a chance here. You're too old. You don't have a degree. You got too many old bad habits from your other jobs. He goes, we're not going to hire you. This interview's over. Just like that.
Wow.
Just like cut and dried cold. Here, throw a bucket of cold water on me. So I get a knot in my stomach, and I'm going, okay, well, shit, this isn't good. What am I going to do now? So I called my little brother, had gotten a job at the same company at the Orange Division, Orange County. This was a separate division. So I called him and say, hey, man, what do I do? And he goes, let me talk to my boss. So he calls me back. This is where you had to go to a landline, and talk on the phone.
Course.
Here's the phone number I'm at. Call me back this number. You had to stay there until they called you back.
Right. Don't let anybody get on the phone. I'm waiting for a call.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You've been there and done that, right?
Yeah.
So my brother calls me back. The boss invited me. This is in the book, too. I just drove down to Orange County and sat in the lobby all afternoon. I'm just nobody's talking to me. The receptionist knew I was there. Really super cool lady, and she and I became really good friends. She became a base jumper. Everybody's going about their business. It's a busy business, and they're all sales guys. They need to be out in the street selling things. They don't get paid to sit around and BS, right? And it's a 100% commission job. So every 2 weeks you got a different check. Yeah, and my wife lived on a budget like that for 35 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, the end of the day, the receptionist comes out and she's like, oh, are you still here? And I said, yeah, I was supposed to meet Steve, the manager. And she goes in around to Steve, and you hear this guy in the background, oh, shit, I forgot all about him.
Oh, God.
And he comes out, and he's a great, big, huge dude. He's an ex-football player, which is why he liked my brother. My brother was an ex-college football player, so they're buddies right off the bat, right?
Right.
Come on and follow me. And I said, well, tell me where we're going. And there's no, back then we had a Thomas guide. It was a map book.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you couldn't read a map and you didn't know north and south, you were screwed.
Right.
All these people today, if their battery dies, they're screwed.
We're lost.
They were lost, you know.
Right.
So he goes straight to a bar a couple blocks away. And we pull in there, and he walks out, and I go, okay, this is a test. So I come on in, and he walks in the door, and I'll always remember this. He's a big guy. Real nice guy, but he's a big dude. He walks in, and he goes, puts his hand up in the air, looks at the bartender, and swirls it around. Circles around. So that means around for the table.
Yeah.
Right.
So the waitress comes out. She gives us a pitcher of beer, a bunch of glasses, and I'm thinking, okay, just, watch him. He just slams this beer. And then my brother comes. And he slams a beer, and I'm just sipping this thing. I'm nursing it. I'm just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I'm very, very nervous. It was just funny. Second pitcher comes, a third pitcher, and he said, "You're kind of a lightweight." And I said, "No, I'm not much of a big drinker." My brother goes, "Oh, bullshit. My brother put you take a drink with the best of them, Steve." And I'm like, "Great, there we go."
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
And then after, this went on for 2 hours. A couple sales guys came and went, and finally my brother goes, "Hey, Steve, what are we going to do with JD here?" And he goes, "Oh, when could he start?" And he goes, I could start tomorrow." He goes, "Oh, just be at my office tomorrow. You can work for me." And I'm like,
wow.
What about this guy in LA? He goes, "No, that guy, I don't care what he thinks, And then I end up having to show up for training. Well, guess where I had to go for training?
No.
The LA division. This guy's the training manager.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that's another long chapter in the world. But that's how I got a real career going, and I really had to cut back I had to watch my ass. I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want to get busted. Everything was illegal. So, you get caught jumping a building, it's all over the papers, it's in the news.
Yeah.
You don't want that to happen. So I had to tone it down.
Be careful. Right.
So I start making some money. I'm in this thing 2 or 3 years, and the only two places I would base jump is I had 2 great cliffs. I had the Grand Canyon site I found, which is high enough. It's almost like a miniature El Cap. It's high enough to use a skydiving rig on. If you had your act together, you could definitely use a reserve there. You needed to be good. The landing areas were really tight, and they always shifted around with every flood. So the guys had to be, I was a snot about it. You can't go on this unless you can do this, this, and this, and this.
Sure.
And then we'd go to Lake Powell, if you guys are familiar with Lake Powell.
Yep.
Smooth walls into the water. It's idiot-proof, right?
Yeah.
Get something out. As long as you're standing up before you hit the water, you're fine. A lot of the book is Steve Morrell. That was his favorite place. We went there all the time. And we went to Canyon de Chelly. That was a place in northeast Arizona, same kind of like a miniature Lake Powell without the water.
Yeah.
Sandstone canyons everywhere, and it was on Navajo land. It was in a national park, but the Navajos had to say who could do what. They let us base jump. Some of us base jumped there because we followed their rules. So anyway, those are the only 2 base jumps I would make, Lake Powell and the Grand Canyon. So I started in 89. By 1991, I'm established and making money. We bought a house. I moved my family there. Life is good. And I started getting, I spent the 80s never really getting a good break as an actor or base jumper. And as soon as I get my real job, I start getting all these calls from people. Oh, didn't you do that? Yeah, I still do it. Can you take us to the Grand Canyon? So I started getting all these great calls, and a lot of them I didn't even jump on. I was just the location manager, which, you get paid to, where do you go? What's the lighting look like? Get the permits, set up the helicopters, the guides, all that stuff. So that was fun, and I got to work with my friends, the great base jumpers. Right? The producers would go, well, we're just going to call it drop zone because this base jumper wants too much money. I said, well, I won't work on the job, and I will not get you permits to work on the job. Well, why is that? And I said, when that guy gets killed and you got to deal with the Park Service and the Navajos, I don't want any part of it. So you guys are nickel and diming this $100,000 commercial shoot or however much you're spending, and not want to give this guy $3,000 or $4,000. That's just insanity.
Yeah.
You want it right, or do you want to take your chances? You guys, and I did have one commercial, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was a Budweiser commercial, and they got an independent filmmaker. They didn't get a SAG Screen Actors Guild. And I never got a SAG card, by the way. I was a, what do you call it? A scab. We had a guy called me up and asked me, how much you want for this and this and this? I said, location is this much. And, if I make a jump, the first jump is this much, second jump's this much, each jump after that's this much. You're crazy. I said, okay, great, have a good time. I didn't need the job. I get a call about 3 or 4 months later from this guy, and he's, hey, JD, this is so-and-so. Hey, how are you doing? And he goes, I got a little bit of a problem. Oh, what happened, man? And he goes, I'm in jail, and they impounded all my stuff. And I need your help to get out of this. And I went, well, what do you mean? What happened? So he just tells me he went up there. He hired a skydiver who said, yeah, I know where to go.
Oh, yeah.
And the skydiver gets there and he looks over, he doesn't know where to go specifically. He just goes, he knows, I know there's cliffs there, but I thought you guys knew. Yeah. And the producer's like, well, that's what we hired you for. And
oh, boy.
It was a fiasco. And the guy goes, well, I've never jumped here before. I don't know where to take you or any of that. And in the meantime, all these production trucks, these are semi-trailers full of gear, and there's 6, 8, 10 people on a crew plus the jumper and his crew.
Right.
And then they leave all their stuff in one place, and they got a helicopter to the jump site. So all their stuff's there. When they come back, the Navajos are there. Hey, who's this, and this? Everything's locked up and and snagged everybody. So I said, man, it sounds like you got a problem, dude.
Yeah.
He goes, can you help me? And I said, here's how it works. Remember that? I said, I want the money wired to my account, which it took a day to clear in those days. Then I will speak to my contacts in the Navajo Nation, and I'll see what I can do. But I will not come there, and I will not expedite this until you. He goes, yeah, dude, that's 2 days. I said, you saved yourself a bunch of money, didn't you?
Yeah.
So anyway, that being said, I ended up taking care of them. We got there. I brought a real jumper. We went to the site. We did it, and I both made good money. Anyway, I got a really good commercial job. It was a Canadian company, and it was on Mother's Day weekend. You never know what the weather's going to be like. It's like this weather here. Hey, it's going to rain this afternoon. It's hot and sunny. It's no rain, and then it pours. So it's kind of like the same thing up there.
Yeah.
I would go there, and I would tell these crews. I'd say, "What's your script? What are you trying to shoot?" And I would tell you, "This is my recommendation." After you sent me a deposit, of course.
Right. Of course.
And this commercial, the guy said, look, we're going to do this, this, and this. And he goes, how long would it take? I said, if we have good weather, we could do the whole thing in a day. figure on 2 days for production, and figure the 4th day for a weather day. And that paid off more than once, Get up there, and it's just windy. You can't jump. It's not safe. So anyway, I get this job. We do the job. I'm there. I get there Wednesday night. I had my own airplane, and we would fly from Southern California to Flagstaff, make them rent me a car, and I'd meet the other people.
Right.
So we get there, we do the job, and the weather's perfect the first 2 days. And it's Friday. And the guy's at the end of the afternoon, he's like, I got everything I want. Man, we got everything. The weather was awesome. And he goes, I'm going home for Mother's Day. So the whole crew's like, yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, well, shoot, I had to rent the helicopter for a certain amount of hours, a minimum. We didn't even use that.
Wow.
I still got a guide for 2 days. I got a hotel room for another night. That's not, and you're not getting your money back on any of these things. So.
Right.
You go to the nearest payphone, which was an hour away from our site, and you ask for $10 in quarters. Everybody takes all this for granted. You don't have any idea, right?
Right.
So I call all my friends, and I had a couple come up from Phoenix. I had a couple come from, I called my really good friend John Boland. He was a 2-tour Vietnam vet paratrooper. Didn't get a scratch. Came home, started civilian skydiving. He was 12 years older than me. Brutally handsome. He was about my size. Wasn't a big, bulky guy. He was just a regular guy, but he's a rock climber, big wall climber, and he's on El Capitan when 2 guys go whizzing by him in free fall, and he's like, oh my God, I got to do that. So he reaches out to Carl through the circle of people. Carl sets up a trip where I meet him at, and then, John and I became best friends. I called John. John had never gone to the Grand Canyon, and in those days, El Cap was a hassle. If you got busted at El Capitan, it was miserable.
Yeah.
You went to jail. They confiscated your gear for a year. You got fined. Call everybody and say, come on out. Call my buddy John. He just got married to one of his bungee jumping students who was half his age. He went through a really bad divorce over jumping, and he had 2 kids the same age as my 2 kids. And we were just like brothers. So he wanted to come out to the Grand Canyon. So John comes out with his new bride. He brings 2 young guys that are kind of like his base proteges with him. My buddy Ned Dunnington, who was a retired battalion chief, the Phoenix Fire Department, skydiver buddy I knew for a long time. Some of them got there the next morning. Saturday we made a bunch of jumps. Everything went great. And then John and his wife and them showed up on Sunday morning, which was Mother's Day. And I called my wife, said, honey, this is the scoop. When I get home, we're going to do whatever you want to do, which my wife is not finicky at all. She's very easy to please. These guys all jump, and it's me and John are the last 2, and through a crazy series of circumstances, which I try to lay out in the book, we got entangled when we opened up our parachutes. Should have never happened. And, there's 8 things that went wrong. If we got rid of any one of them, just one of them, the other 7 would be things we'd be laughing about.
Right.
And John and I ended up running into the wall under the one open parachute we had, and tore the parachute in half. We kind of spiraled out of the sky under
Because you were blinded by his parachute,
his parachute was completely over the top of my head, and I couldn't see anything. So my parachute was open at first.
Right.
John ran into me, and he has no reserve, as common in those days, because the gear was that good. He's got a state-of-the-art system that had not been modified for base jumping yet. Same thing as Carl.
Right.
And we were going to do it, but we discussed it extensively. This is a skydive. We're going to be away from each other, and we're going to stagger our opening heights. So we had all these things in our advantage, and his parachute came off his back accidentally. It opened up 90 degrees off a heading, and it surged forward because we didn't have the deep brake settings in it that we were going to do, and he ran into me. And I mean, if he'd have been 2 feet over to the one side, we'd have laughed about close call.
Right.
So my buddy gets killed in the accident, and we landed at the base of the cliff we jumped off, and there's about a 400-foot talus that's about 45 degrees. It's very steep, and it's all broken up, jagged volcanic rock. And our landing area was across the river, which thank God wasn't raging. It was about knee deep, a half a mile down the stream, third of a mile downstream. So they had to cross that, get to the base of that talus and climb up it. So it took them, hour and a half, 2 hours to get there. And they said when they got up there, John was laying on his back on a flat piece of rock, and he took his last couple of breaths when they first got to him. And they said I landed 5 or 6 feet away from him, but I had gone through a really small like a tree or a piece of brush, and that was maybe enough cushion to save me.
Wow.
So took them all day. They had to get a rescue team to come out there. That took all day. They didn't get me on a helicopter for like 8 hours until after it happened.
Were you conscious?
They said I was until they got me on the helicopter, but I don't remember a thing.
You don't remember anything. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and John's wife was there, and she was a photographer, and she was the only person on top besides the helicopter support crew, and they were far away. You know, they weren't right there. And she's the last person to find out what happened. She took 6 great photographs of us from where she was, but she can't lean over the edge. I was told she's laying prone, you know, as close to the edge she could get, where she was on a little higher spot around the corner from us. So she got about the first 250 feet of our free fall, maybe 300 feet, 5 seconds into a free fall. So great pictures, and I got them, and they're great pictures. And then she heard a parachute's open. She thought, oh, they're fine. She didn't know for hours and hours and hours. So.
Oh man.
So I ended up in a coma. They said that I in and out of consciousness until when the rescue helicopter got there. Ned said and Ned's a trained, you know, EMT and, you know, firefighter. He's seen everything. He said I was white as a ghost and I had no blood pressure, and he thought, nice knowing you.
Yeah.
I spent a week, 10 days in the Flagstaff ICU till they got me stabilized. My poor wife's in Southern California, 2 little kids at home. She's got to drive like 9 hours to Flagstaff.
Oh, boy.
You know, yeah. My grandmother came out from Arizona, stayed with the grandkids so she could come stay with me. And it was just a terrible time. It was funny. The insurance company wouldn't pay to transport me back from Flagstaff Hospital to Riverside. So our office manager would call Shelley every day. How are you? What's the latest on JD? And she starts crying one day. They won't bring him home. So she calls the CEO, and I love this story. We used to call him Uncle Gene. This guy's a CEO over thousands of people. She calls him up, says, Gene, you know, Shelley said this and that, and the insurance company this and that. And it's funny, I was on a charter flight the next day. So.
Wow.
So you decided to write the book about your experiences. How was it putting all these thoughts and experiences into a book form?
Well, it started out as, you know, I have a son who's 41 now. He lives here too. He was world known as a BMX park rider. Been all over the world. And he was sponsored by Levi's and Etnies and all that. And he had this incredible life. But he always thought for some reason what we did was just, Dad, you know, you got to write a book. This is amazing. You got to write this book. And I'm like, you need to write the book. You're the guy. You're the kid at 17, didn't finish high school because you're out making $100,000 a year riding a bicycle.
Oh,
you know,
my
you
gosh.
tell me. You know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he always pushed me to write a book. So I went to the last bridge day, the bridge that we jumped off legally. And this is kind of off topic, but it segues into what we're talking about. I went in 1987 and didn't go again until 2018, so 31 years.
Right.
And in that time frame, everything changed, and you know, there's 2 generations kids deep, and I'm the old fart there telling old war stories, and
Right.
these kids didn't have any concept of where it came from, who did what, how did this work. So my buddy Mark Tharp, who's in the book, he's like, dude, you got to write a book. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. So I just started it, and I had no idea what to do. No concept whatsoever. I've never written anything, you know. I'd write a letter, you know.
Yeah.
And a handwritten letter. I didn't know how to type.
Yeah.
So I started it, and then a month later, I had my eyesight thing happen. That put everything on hold for about 6-8 months. Once we figured how to work with that, I started the book, and it took me 7 years to put this hodgepodge collection of bar stories, you know.
Right.
Oh, there I was, you know. And,
But you had also kept notes, right, on your jumps.
I did.
Yeah,
You
so
keep
you
what's
had-
called a logbook. Pilots do it, jumpers do it, you know. A lot of people keep logbooks. So I pulled out my logbook, and I was able to find the magnifying devices I needed to put it onto I have a monitor that's like 60 inches. My left eye's the one I only see out of, really. So right here with these letters that are literally the size of a quarter, they're full of holes, and I'm going tink, 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 and then go like this. Oh shit, that's
Check it
wrong.
out.
Backspace.
Wow.
Tink, 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 tink. You know, and that's what took so long.
Wow.
But I got it done, and there were a lot of days I just went, this, I'm not doing this. Is ridiculous. And I wrote a song and I did a video about my buddy Steve Morrell, and this is what changed the whole thing. So I was getting flustered. My wife put up with it. She'd hear me in there cussing, and honey, why don't you just calm down? It's time. Just take a break for a day. And I got to get this done. I got to get this. I'm kind of like on a mission.
Sure.
And, your neck hurts and your back hurts because you're like this all day. And I did this video for my friend, and it's a song. You can look it up on YouTube or Apple and stuff. And I have this thing called The J.D. Walker Project. Keyword is the. If you don't put the, you're going to get every rapper, country singer, the hillbillies,
Yeah.
So the J.D. Walker Project, and on Instagram, you'll get links to all these songs. So the ones with the title on the thumbnail are videos. So there's one called The Morrell, and I wrote this song, did this video that you can watch, and I'm at the end of the book. I've written it all. I'm just wandering around in a swirl going, what next? And I get a phone call, and this guy goes, is this J.D. Walker? And I'm like, possibly, I don't know. I know who he is. Can I ask who's inquiring? I don't know who it is, I get a lot of spam calls, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, my name is Professor Robert Morrell. I'm 75 years old, and I'm known for working on the team at Brown University that we isolated the AIDS virus in 1980. Really? I said, okay, cool. So God bless you for that. First of all, because we didn't know what was going on then. Our friends were dying,
Yeah.
Right.
And I said, so what's this in regards to? And he goes, I'm still in contact with a lot of my students on Facebook groups, and one of my guys sent me a link to a song, and I swear to God, it's about my brother. Oh. I said, what'd you say your name was? He goes, Professor Robert Morrell, but my friends call me Bob. I said, Morrell as in like Steve Morrell? He goes, that was my little brother. I taught him to jump when we were in college.
Oh my God.
I love it.
So
a good little...
We have this... It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we have this long 2-hour conversation. We're going back and forth. Did you guys do this? You do this? Yeah, I said, your brother. I loved your brother. Steve got killed in an accident at the U.S. National Parachute Championships in 96. So this is... almost 30 years later. It was 2 years ago, so 28 years later.
Wow.
And he goes, my brother always told me about all these crazy things, and I always told him, you got to write this down, man. You need to start a book, and he never did. And I'm like, it's funny you say that, Bob, because I've spent 5 years in the wilderness, stepping in every hole and trap, and I've spent money with people who said they would help me, and they didn't. I don't know what to do. And he goes, man, you're in luck. I'm a published author.
Oh.
I've written multiple books.
Perfect.
I've written over 100 magazine articles. He goes, I just finished one of my books, and I'm writing a book right now based on my brother. And I said, yeah, what's it called? And he goes, I called his brother. I watched his brother almost die 3 times in the first 8-10 hours I saw him. And this is no BS. This is a real story. And I called him after that night. I just called him, man, you should be dead. I'm going to start calling you Dead Steve. He goes, I couldn't call it Dead Steve. I don't feel like it's a denigration, but I just called it Dead Stephanie. And so Steve was an Air Force pilot who flew tankers and flew transport aircraft during the 2 Gulf Wars. And he has all these amazing stories, engine fire at night out over the middle of the Atlantic. Okay, what do we do? Keep going or turn around, and we got 3 inches, just keep going, shut that one down. He's just cool as a cucumber. Anyway, Bob's like, I'll help you do that. Send me your manuscript. And for literally every day for 2 years, we talked 3-4 times a day.
Great.
And he took it and he cut out the crap.
Yeah.
And hey, you already said this here. We're going to get rid of that. He put a timeline to it. He's the reason the book is what it is today. And I give him total credit. I lived it. He wrote it. I wrote it, but he, without him, it wouldn't be. It was just been an old man's bunch of ramblings, right? So that's how the book came about. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if people want to get your book, they can get it.
Yes, you
on
can.
Amazon.
On Amazon. And it's called Base
37. It's available on Amazon, anywhere you want to get it. I give everybody a card with a QR code. It takes them to Amazon, and the only reason I say that is they ship it free.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like Amazon. You can buy it from wherever you want.
Right.
You just got to pay the shipping. So it's maybe $6-7. I'm writing a follow-up. My original cleaned-up manuscript was 187,000 words. The book that you have is 72,000 words, so there's a lot of stuff that got cut out. I got to a point where I said, okay, I'm going to die of old age before this happens. So it's time to publish. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I just...
It's not easy. It's not easy to write a book. Get it published.
So here we are.
But you did it.
Well,
you did it, and you're going to do another one.
I did it. The second book is going to be called Cast of Characters. It's going to be called Base 37, Cast of Characters.
There you go.
Or, better yet, and I think this is probably the one I'll go with, the original title was going to be Angels on My Shoulders. Because I referenced several times in a book, and I got a little crap about that from the editors, and I went, no, you're sorry, this doesn't work for me. I'm alive because of the grace of God.
Right.
And I truly believe that, and I've always believed there's been angels on my shoulders, and I think one of the first things they talk about is I should have drowned in a ditch, and somebody saved me, an angel saved me. Why? So I could write this book? Who knows?
Right.
I don't know that, but... So the second book is probably going to be called Base 37, Angels in big letters on my shoulders. All the characters the editors cut out of the first book.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm going to, and I'm organizing it now, and I'm tracking down which stories to put in. It won't be as long as this one, but all the good stuff. There's so many great stories. And if you read the first book, the second book you'll laugh.
Right.
It's almost all fun stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I love it.
Good for you.
All right, so Callie asked you a little while ago, and we kind of got, we needed to get around to it. But now that we know all these stories, when was the last time you jumped?
It was 2 years ago, June 6th. I got invited to Perrine Bridge, which I had never been to, and I knew about it probably for 8 or 10 years before I went there, but, I had my vision thing happen before I could go there. But I have a lot of Arizona guys, including the guy who's kind of the guru of base jumping in Arizona. His name's Scott Frankson. He's the oldest of the bunch, and I took him on his first base jump in '92 in the Grand Canyon, where the Mother's Day cliff. That was his first base jump, which was like a serious thing because I didn't take just anybody there, and you couldn't do it unless you were on the in-crowd list. So anyway, they introduced me to a couple. They're both base jumpers. She's a squadron commander in F-35s. The state-of-the-art jump jet fighter plane. She just looks like this nice little blonde lady. She's a badass Marine. So her and she met another base jumper. I met him through Scott, my buddy, and they wanted to get married, and they were going to do it at Perrine. So they invited me. They said, we're going to pay for you to get ordained, and we want you to marry us. And I'm like, what am I going to say?
Right.
Pull before you hit the water, and what am I going to say? Grace of God, you guys will live through this weekend. I don't know.
Right.
So they ended up getting another minister, but they invited me anyway. We got there. It's a challenge for me to get around anywhere. So, everybody helps me get out there. We get out on the bridge. We walk out on the bridge, and there's a great big 4-foot wide sidewalk with guardrails on both sides. It's highway. Trucks are whizzing by. It's loud out there, but we get out to the middle of the bridge, and I'm looking over, and I'm going, wow, I can make the river out. Where are they landing at? And then somebody with a really bright parachute, I could actually follow it. And that's where they're landing at. So we're out there for 2 days. And I watch hundreds of these, and I have friends that are still jumping, the guys my age or, a few years younger than me. And they're there. And I have a friend that's there, and this is in the book. We jumped a building together in 1985 in L.A. So they're all out there, and I'm talking, God, I could jump into the river. There's boats down there. We'll get somebody in one of the boats.
They'll be ready for it.
They'll be ready. So we plan to go back literally 4 weeks shy of the 40th anniversary of losing Carl in Norway. I jumped his parachute that I had repaired on that 40th anniversary into the river. So, and landed there, and they came and picked me up, and it's the last chapter, and it's a great story about. That's great. Finding redemption, and and I've had some really, really dark days. In the last 7 years, and you get to a point where I can't do anything. You feel useless,
right?
Everybody has to do things for you, and I've learned to deal with what I have, and I really truly believe I see better, if that makes sense. But I don't see any better because I see it's a neurological problem. It's not an eye problem,
right? Oh, I see.
And my optic nerves are damaged. My eyes are fine. I see what do you want to call it?
Ophthalmologist?
No, well, I see that, but he's a nerve guy, so he does nerves.
Okay.
So I see him every 6 months, and they're like, "You're worse than last time. You're worse than last time." I'm like, I think I see better, and I think it's just my brain is adapted to what I'm taking in, and that's why if I walk somewhere once, like Iron Horse.
Yeah. Right.
It's a little trip to get to the bathroom, and there's that little tripper step right next to the bar.
Right.
That you find the first time. There's that there. So,
I remember where that is.
So, everybody in there, I had a waitress walk up to me the first time we went there 2 years ago, and, "Sir, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm great," outside of a couple little wines and, a couple broken bones here, a little medical grade titanium here and there.
Yeah.
She goes, "Well, are you drunk?" And I said, "Oh, no." He said, "Not yet. I'm working on it, but I don't see very well." So she feels humiliated. I said, "No, don't, I'm so humiliated." "No, don't worry. Just she helps me get to the bathroom." And so, that's my world.
Right.
So, you guys could be sitting right there, and if I didn't know who you were, I wouldn't know who you were.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, I could see your shape. If I didn't know you were wearing it's a pink shirt.
Orange
shirt. Yeah, to me it's pink and
coral.
Coral. That's my wife. It's actually coral, honey. It looks red to me. I'm sorry, babe.
Sage.
Yeah.
Anyway.
See, I would say green.
It's all good. Doesn't matter.
But that's my world.
Yeah.
So the most help I got when I first had this happen was from Centers for Blind Children in Arizona. So I just got my first royalty check for the book, and I told everybody I'm going to donate, part of my proceeds to these charities. Well, I got that check, and I said, this is not world-changing money, and it's a fraction of what I spent to do the book, but I just said I'm going to give all this money to these guys.
That feels good, doesn't it?
It's nothing to me. We don't need the money. We're not rich by any means, but I don't need $1,000. Isn't going to change our life,
right?
But it might a kid's life, and
a
lot of these places, a single mom has a kid with eye problems with no insurance,
right?
And that's what these Arizona Center for Blind Children is a perfect example of that. So I thought that's a good cause. We give to several charities. We obviously, Tunnels to Towers, and we do DAV, disabled veterans. We've been doing that for 40 years.
Yeah.
My dad was a disabled veteran. So, we give to those charities, but thought, no, this book's going to do that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, this was a great conversation
Oh,
about
absolutely.
base jumping that I had no idea about.
I know.
And what continued
I think
success.
this might be an episode that my son Connor might actually listen to.
I think he will.
We should take you two ladies to Perrine. We can get you a parachute and put you into the river and have a boat pick you up. It's almost idiot-proof.
I think
No, thank you.
that won't happen. But I'm scared of heights, and I don't like water as much.
There's no way I'm jumping off a bridge.
I won't die from a skydiving accident because I won't be in a skydiving.
Exactly.
There's just one of those things. It's not for me. It's just
Right.
the height thing and the idea of falling. I've been in airplanes. I've been in helicopters and Chinooks and all that stuff, and I love the look of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to jump out of it.
And my nightmare is,
the falling.
The falling.
The falling is hard.
What's funny is I've flown my whole life, and we've been fortunate enough to have a good enough job where I could buy airplanes. So I had I always had an airplane most of our adult life. And my wife never liked flying. She did not like flying with me. And there's a great story near the end of the book where we flew to Portland as a family for a wedding. And that was a close call.
Yeah.
But there's great read in it.
Yeah.
But she has no problem getting in an airliner with some guy. The captains are always highly experienced.
Yeah.
But the FO, the first officer, could have a third of the amount of time I have flying airplanes.
Right.
And if the old guy in the left seat has a stroke or a heart attack,
You're left with
FO's
the other
flying
guy,
it.
right?
That kid's a third of my age. God knows, of course he's qualified to fly and land the airplane,
Right.
but you don't even know who he is, and you're fine with him driving it, but you have a problem with me flying when you're sitting up front and you can hear and see everything,
Right.
But go figure.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
Well, this has been amazing.
Well, thank you so much.
Read the book and see
We
if you
will.
want to do another one.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. I know.
We want to hear the other stories too. So
Exactly.
when
I
you
know. I
finish
can't
that
wait
one-
till the next one comes
Yeah,
out. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Oh, no.
so much.
Really
this has been
appreciate
a treat.
it.
We'll
Yeah.
see you at Iron Horse on
Yes, we
Tuesday
will.
nights.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So don't forget to like, follow, subscribe,
And
or share.
AllieCallieArtcast.com.
Yep. And I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. And whatever you do today, make sure it's creative.
And
Be safe.
Be safe
if
out
you
there.
decide to base jump. The Allie and Callie Artcast is sponsored in part by Scraps Barbecue, a locally owned catering company, the Ovation Company, getting back to basics of shared learning and human connection, and Pyramid Printing, a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.